ASA. Game on daily. ASA. Game on daily.
What? That's not the music. What can I hear? Don't listen. That's the wrong music. Let's try this again.
ASA. Game on daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&A, sir. Smooth start. It's been a quiet week for gaming news, so thanks everyone for coming along, and I'll see you next week, right? No, we'll find things to talk about. Of course we'll find things to talk about. I've got some topics lined up, and we've got the usual running of the show in the format that you all know and love, or otherwise why would you be here? So let's go straight into it, shall we? If you're new, if it does happen to be your first time, if you've seen... Oh no, buffer. There's no buffer, you're tricking me. If you've seen the tweet that I just put out, you've gone, oh, there's a show I'd never heard of, I'm going to come along and watch it and see what's going on, then that's a miracle, because I forgot to tweet until a couple of minutes after the show was supposed to start. I am not on form, but hopefully you are. Hopefully you've got topics and games to talk about, and we'll go back and forth. This is how the show works. I say things, you say things, and we have a nice little chat with me and with each other. There's other ways that you can get involved. You can leave questions in the Q&A box that will appear at some point during the show. Those will be addressed at the end. You can jump onto the Game On Daily Discord, stick yourself in a Q&A so waiting room. If you want to jump on and actually talk directly on the internet with your face and or your voice, these are things that are available to do, available to participate. But before we get into it, because painful discourse will tell me off if I don't, here is a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor today is, oh, surprise, it's Game On Daily. I am rolling around in Game On Daily cash because they've been the sponsor of this show for all 45 episodes. Face but no voice. Yeah, somebody wants to go on Discord and like have no volume, just present their face to the world. I'll take it. Game On Daily, sponsor of the show. News aggregation platform, all of your gaming needs. Find your favorite content creators, talk to each other, tell your friends about it, make it big and famous, and then we'll be able to make it better and better and better and better until it is something that nobody can do without. That is Game On Daily, and let's get on with it. Painful Discourse, welcome. Peter Morland likes the Wii. Replicant, welcome. Just have a little scroll. Tony's here, Patrick's here. Of course. How could I possibly do without you? So thank you everyone for coming along and showing up as you always do. Of course. Well, Peter, I'm going to be less aggressive than you and ask politely. Please do hit the like button. Please do. You can hit it 3 times if you want. As long as it stays lit by the end of it, it's all good. My first sign language guest. Well, I wouldn't know what to do with that, unfortunately. I could not read a single sign. So that would just be a face guest, or... No one's guessed the background yet. That surprises me. It's there, you can see it. I'm aware that most of you probably haven't played it, but... I'm not on top chat. I'm just... scatty. I'm still suffering because you told me that there was a buffer, so I'm monitoring statistics and talking at the same time to see if there are any problems I desperately need to address. I didn't say Isla's here. Oh no, I'm on top chat and it somehow filtered all of Isla's comments out, so I did not notice she was there. Isla's here as well. Thank you for believing that nonsense. Let's just pretend that obviously Isla's here. Isla's always here. Very, very appreciated. Thank you, Isla, for being here again. Let's go on to games. Don't cry and scrum it. Let's go on to games. What have we been playing? I've been streaming a fair amount lately, so you know what I've been playing, but we'll go through them. I'm still on. Background doesn't look good enough to be Redfall. It is not Redfall. Yeah, it's not Redfall. You would have thought that Isla would be in on the top chat by default. No, YouTube specifically, it filtered out every single thing that she said. And even if that were true, if YouTube had actually filtered out everything that Isla said, I would still know that she was there. So I'm still busted. I am still... like, I failed there. And I will never be forgiven. So I'm going to say... I'm going to try Zelda. Baz, we'll get to Zelda in a little bit. Because we're going to start with games that I've already played. And if you've already got Zelda, if you've got access to it early, then you can stick it in there as your game you've been playing this week. For me, I've carried on with some Cyberpunk. You probably saw that. I've got through essentially the tutorial. I've just met Keanu, and he's acting better than I've ever seen him act in places. There's still Still some lines where you're like, come on, Keanu, you can do better. But I don't know why I would think that, because he's always acted like that. Anyway, he's there. The game's going really well. I'm enjoying it. And it's quite interesting to assess my enjoyment of it and try and pick apart what I'm enjoying as a result of patches and updates, and what about it was actually just good from day one. Like, what deserves respect from the original design and creation, which is always a thing with games. When you look at something like Sea of Thieves or No Man's Sky, or all of these games that have these famous redemption stories where they launched and they got their terrible reviews, and then patches and patches and patches come out, and you go back and play that game and you start to realize maybe the things that I liked in that game were actually there on day one and I just didn't recognize them because the pieces weren't quite fitting together. But maybe in 2 years' time we'll play Redfall and go, actually these pieces are fitting together now, and suddenly it's a lot more enjoyable than it used to be. Or maybe they'll just drop it in a bin and hope that we all forget about it. I don't know. But I have also been playing Redfall, second game that I've been playing. Space Denizen, Deadly Headley, welcome along. Tell me what you've been playing. Tell me what you have been playing. Tell me if it's good. Tell me if I should play it. I've also been playing... I played Apex Legends. I did that on stream. That was silly. Peter Morland, this week, apart from your usual games, you've had a quick go on Star Wars The Skywalker Sagas. Is that the Lego one? Or it must be. That must be Lego Star Wars. Is it good? I forget which is which. I played a Lego Star Wars that is, I think, the most recent one, so it's probably the Skywalker Saga thing. And I didn't very much like it. I didn't like the way that the characters are Lego people. Let's bring up a trailer for this. We like a trailer. We've got the power to show things. We will show things. The characters are very much Lego, but the environments were very much not Lego. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, here we go, trailer. And what you end up with is a game that looks like nice, but in a way that it shouldn't, because it's supposed to be Lego. Wow, that part of the trailer looked terrible, you didn't see it. So the characters are very much Lego. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. The trailer looks like it's got a lot more Lego in it than the actual game. Am I wrong, Peter? Have you been running around Naboo and like looking at all the trees and stuff? Have you seen much Lego besides the characters? That sand isn't made of Lego, and nor are those rocks. And I swear the Lego games, like, when they burst onto the scene and became popular, a lot more stuff was made of Lego, including the older Lego Star Wars games. You're still in the spaceship, but it is a spaceship made of Lego. It has to be. It's a spaceship, right? I actually think this trailer undersells how nice it could look in places, though. Like, it did look like a high polished quality technical accomplishment as a Star Wars game. That tree's not made of Lego. It's made of bark and wood and whatever else a tree's made out of. Blood and guts, you know, tree stuff. I don't know. That makes it less, like, that just makes it a Star Wars game rather than a Lego Star Wars game. Ricardo, you played... Oh, you went back and played Anthem after Redfall. Didn't seem like a game that deserved all the hate that it got. Still not great, but not horrible. Yeah, I played a bit of Anthem when it was fresh. And style and presentation were so close to a good game. So close to a good game. Like, it was a BioWare world. Real nice, proper, well fleshed out alien world with interesting fauna that made me go, oh... I want to explore, and the combat felt pretty nice. The Iron Man flying was well executed. Technically, Frostbite games are pretty. It was a pretty game. But it did lean too heavily into service, right? So it's awesome-ish, but then you get onto the... Like, a lot like the Marvel Avengers game. You get to a certain point and it's like, look at this daily quest. Look at this reputation grind. Would you like to buy these skins for your suit? You can buy a different texture for the color. You can buy this kind of finish for your green paint. And it got a little bit much. Anthem trailer. And yeah, despite saying that about Anthem, very sad that they did cancel the Anthem 2 kind of thing, because a lot about that game had so much potential. and they probably could have saved it. Not necessarily commercially, like maybe if you're a publisher and you're thinking about how much money you're spending on bringing the quality of this game around, maybe it was just like not a good idea on the spreadsheets, but they could have turned that into a good game. So yeah, 2 looked exciting. Replicant liked the combat. John Harmer, welcome. You can only be here for a bit, but you're already all in on the paucity of the Lego debate. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what paucity means, so I'm going to assume that that's good. What was the last... Who else has played Lego games? Where did the Lego games peak? Weirdly enough, I've got 2 kids who were like prime Lego age when those games were at their best, and all the Marvel ones and things like that. I used to pick them up to play with them, but they hated them, so never really got anywhere with them. Anthem died ages ago. I know, Baz. I didn't promise a topical show. As I always say, this is where past, present, and future of gaming all converge. I'm going to start talking about Sega Saturn games in a minute, and there's nothing you can do about it apart from join in and enjoy it. Welcome, JJ. Isla, paucity, non the presence of something in only small or insufficient quantities. Are right. Like, I'm aware that I'm reading that all wrong, but it's quite far away and quite small. Positive information. It's, well, good. Space Denizen, you've never played Anthem, but you loved Andromeda. You heard the combat was similar. I played a bit of Andromeda. I waited and waited for most of the bugs to be gone. It was visually fairly underwhelming for a Mass Effect game at the time that I played it. I can't remember what platform I played it on. I might have tried to console it. I'm going to give up on the Anthem trailer because I'm searching wrong. I'm using Bing, and Bing's going to be like using my data to learn terrible things and control the world with Anthem robot suits, javelins, whatever they called them. Harry Potter, Lego, and Jurassic Park were the best. And do you remember, Baz, did they have Lego environments? Did they at least try to have Lego environments? I get that Lego water is quite difficult, although they should still try. Space Denizen, you played a couple of... This is Mass Effect Andromeda. You played it a couple of years after release on the PlayStation 4. So, Space Denizen, did you love Andromeda? And how did you feel about the Mass Effect series going into Andromeda? Replicant, you're an Andromeda apologist. I'm curious, like, being the topical show that this is, I'm curious on the Andromeda love as to whether you're enjoying it off the back of enjoying the good Mass Effects. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're people that have played the 3 and you just like took some joy out of Andromeda as well. That's my guess. Anthem initially reminded you of Vanquish, and it makes you sad that there was no more Vanquish. I've had Vanquish installed on my Xbox for like 100 years now. I think I literally migrated it from the previous generation of Xboxes onto the Series X on the day that I set it up, and I still haven't played it. It's only supposed to be like 6 hours long, which makes it perfect for me. I can fit 6 hours in at some point, you'd hope. You're cold and tired. Get warm. You can probably stay tired and go to sleep soon. That's fine. Not as good as the original trilogy, but you still really liked it. So Mass Effect might come up in conversation a little bit later on as well, because we do have this whole conversation piece around the best games ever. And you can't really have that conversation without at least talking about Mass Effect a little bit. Space Denizen, you felt like the early games were given maybe too much credit. You love the combat and crafting and character customization in Andromeda. Writing didn't come across as much worse, to be honest. You have hurt me with that comment. They were not given too much credit. But we'll come on to that. Mass Effect's always a little bit of an interesting conversation. I hold it in very high regard, mostly. Let's just pivot straight onto Mass Effect. Fuck it, why not, hey? We can do what we want. The updated Mass Effect games on Game Pass. You couldn't possibly look it up yourself. They are on Game Pass. They have been for quite a while now. Obviously, like via EA Play, so Game Pass Ultimate or the EA Plus subscription. And I haven't played the Legendary Edition. I haven't gone back to Mass Effect. The problem with Mass Effect is they were 3 very large games. So if you put 3 very large games into a package, you have an even larger package. And I don't want that. It's too much for me. I can't handle it. Can't. Careful with words. Careful with words. I really like Mass Effect though. When I talk about like good world building in games, and not just in games, like good world building in storytelling media in general, like books, films, whatever else it may be, Mass Effect is always up there as a really like strong example of a well-crafted world, well considered, mostly consistent. It has some flaws and some dips, particularly around what Mass Effect 2 does with the Reapers and things, but generally I really, really, really liked the Mass Effect trilogy, so it was a surprise that I never got into Andromeda, and I didn't fall off of Andromeda for the reasons that everyone else did. I can't remember why I stopped playing it. That can go on the list. I'll add it to the thumbnail list. I'll play it one day. Such a long list of thumbnails required, so you might not be seeing Isla ever again because I've buried her in thumbnail requests. Which one's best? You know, the classic conversation. Which is the best Mass Effect to you? Everybody in chat that's played Mass Effect. You can throw Andromeda in there. Don't actually make Mass Effect, Tyler. I've got no opportunity to play that in the next 100 years. I would like to, but I need to get through Warcraft 3 first, and many other games. Many other games. Tony, you don't know which one's best. So Mass Effect 1 obviously created that whole universe and underwhelmed in some way because they promised an awful lot, but it was a brilliant, brilliant game. Quite RPG centric. It's the one that got the most love and the most changes going into the Legendary Edition to try and bring the gameplay up to speed. Mass Effect 2 is the one that a lot of people remember being amazing. John Harmer. Replicant says that 2 is your favourite, then 3, then the first one. See, I often hear this conversation about which one's best. Is it Mass Effect 1 or is it Mass Effect 2? Which one's the best out of those? And no, Peter, not a cult. I like the sentiment, but no, we're not a cult. But no, you're correct that Isla is not actually allowed to disappear. The conversation around which is best out of 1 and 2, I listen to, and I always think, I think 3's best overall. 3 got like a terrible, terrible flop of an ending. But that was like 5 minutes of the experience, and the entire rest of that game was awesome. 2 had a stupid Terminator, weird Reaper thing that I felt undermines the lore of the first, like that the first game had set up. 1 gets the benefit of having created the universe. They're all amazing games. I need to go and play them. I've had a bad cult experience, Peter. I've been like forcibly made the head of so many cults. This is not true. You broke your jaw. Don't break your jaw. 3 had the best set pieces. So 3, the series as it went got gradually made more and more action oriented, action focused. They upped the cinematic qualities of it. So the first one leaned heaviest towards the RPG side of things, and they progressively streamlined that. And that's not necessarily for the betterment of the game. Like, I quite liked the RPG elements, but you're right. 3 had the best set pieces, I would say. I'm probably like my memory. I'm pretending that I can distinguish the 3 games from each other in my head. Realistically, they're all pretty much blending into one, but I've got like a floating notion around the back of my head that says that I preferred 3, and it's very hard to justify because I've lost all of the groundwork and research that went into that. Just know that I liked 3. 2 had a silly end boss. 1 was cool. A little bit clunky. I should really play the Legendary Edition, but there are so many games that I've never played through. And the same with I should really play Spider-Man Remastered. I should stream that. That's a fun one to watch. I should really play the Final Fantasy VII Remake again. And then I think I've never played so many games that replaying some games that I love is a silly idea. How about you? There's a question. How often do you replay games, or do you replay games? Do you go back to your favorites? Do you have any particular favorites that you replay every few years as a comfort game? We've definitely had a bit of this conversation before, but there's more people now and there's different people. Do you have comfort games that you revisit? And what are they? Your dad was playing Unreal. And we definitely had this conversation, didn't we? Because all of your games are comfort games that you revisit. Donkey Kong? Which Donkey Kong? Don't let my, like, reaction there put you off of telling us. Painful Discourse, you're absolutely right. The background is absolutely Forspoken. I don't see the cheapness in it, to be fair. It does have... So, story-wise, within Forspoken, at that point in the game, you're in what it calls miasma, which is supposed to be corrupting the world. And it does that by distorting and inflicting chromatic aberration on the scenery every now and again. So, as a background, it's perhaps not the best choice. Because every now and again, it deliberately distorts itself. But there you go, the background is Forspoken. Have I played Forspoken? No, not really. I have Forspoken. I played it up to... like 10 minutes in and recorded a background and a foreground. Spaced in as in you randomly replay something, no method to it. So what leads you to replay something though? Like, do you need to be in a particular kind of mood? Because we've all got so many games that we've never played, right? No one can have played anything, like everything anymore. It's impossible. The lighting, there's something cheap about the lighting. Well, usually I find if you're looking at an environment and the lighting kind of stands out as a bit off, it's usually ambient occlusion that's the giveaway. If you get objects in the scene that just don't quite look like they're lit right, they don't quite look like they belong there, usually things like rocks on the floor and stuff like that, it's usually bad ambient occlusion. In this case, I don't know. I'll play it properly. I will say in the 10 minutes that I played of Forspoken, I actually quite enjoyed it. I probably will play a bit of Forspoken at some point. I know that the game is supposed to be horrid over time. And the main character is already like... You know how in the Last of Us TV series, what's her face? I can't remember. Ellie. Like Bella Ramsey overly swears in a way that seems really awkward, and it's an attempt to replicate the way that Ellie talks in the game, but when you watch it in the TV series, it's very forced swearing at every opportunity. That's like you're trying too hard with the swears. That's what Forspoken is like. Now, I'm not against the odd swear word, like it's fine, I use them too much myself, right? But Forspoken is like, stop it, you just sound funny. Just like a real 14-year-old. No. I know what you're talking about. And yeah, maybe in some situations. Maybe like a real 14-year-old when they're with their peers trying to impress them. Or, you know the kind of scenario that I'm talking about where they might be doing it on purpose to set some kind of impression. But the character in this, Frey, she's not. She's in a crazy world talking to herself in a magical arm cuff. So it just comes across quite forced and weird. When they're trying to impress you, yes, Isla. All the 14-year-olds will swear for you. And you might get that impression if I do stream Forspoken, which I will. That's another thumbnail that I need, by the way. Don't ever... Yeah, it's not like Deadpool. Like, it's not like Deadpool. There's no dry wit to it. It's just an awkwardly written character. I'm a sailor man. Because, Tony, I ran out of rum. I'm not hinting that I want you to send me any more. That would make me a terrible person. But it was good rum. So... Mass Effect, what we're playing. Where am I? I don't know. How's it going, everybody? Comfort games. The only one that I go back to... This isn't strictly true. I really want to play that Final Fantasy thing again. Usually what incites me or inspires me to go and replay a game that I really like is that a sequel is on the horizon. So that's why... like Spider-Man's coming out, so that one was on my mind. Final Fantasy VII's second part of the remake is coming out, so that one's on my mind. Dragon Age Inquisition is slightly different, but I really want to get that one done before Dreadwolf comes out. Footy Manager is your crack. So do you get that every year? Is it still an annual release for Footy Manager? Or did they move that over at some point to updating rosters and all the rest of it? Patrick can compare. You can compare whatever you want to Forspoken, Tony. Have my permission. Favorite Dragon Age. So Replicant Dragon Age is an ongoing thing for me. I really very thoroughly adored Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age 2 much less so. Dragon Age Inquisition. It made me do that with my face. So Dragon Age Inquisition is the loser. No, Dragon Age Inquisition I got 45 hours into. And then I migrated to a different PC, and Origin did not migrate my save file in the way that it promised it would. So I lost my 45-hour save file for Dragon Age Inquisition. I have never finished it, and it's been on my list to go back to ever since. I think I'm ready for it now. I've literally got it installed at the moment. It's sitting there, in fact, let me... This is the least interesting thing, but I'm going to show you anyway. Come on, stupid Xbox. Oh, it's going to kill my stream with its shittiness. So, I'm going to bring it up. This is part of my backlog. There it is. Dragon Age Inquisition. It says that I played it 21 days ago. That's because I used it as a background on this very show. Forspoken, I've got 10 achievement points for recording a background today. Ghostwire Tokyo is on my backlog list. I've got 87 points for Redfall. I'm going to play Shadow Warrior sometime. I've kept the Ascent installed because... what a wonderful game that is for recording backgrounds for this very show. Last Case of Benedict Fox I've never played. Total War Warhammer 3 is so high on my list of things that I wish that I played, but I don't play. And Yakuza Like a Dragon, last played 168 days ago, which is also a background for this show. Sits there stubbornly because it's one of the only games of this entire list that I paid money for. Never played it, must get there at some point. And that's obviously a very small sample of my backlog because it's just the games that I've got installed via the Xbox app on my PC. Go away, secret stuff. That's not secret stuff, it's just Bing trying to show me an Anthem trailer. Dragon's Dogma I've never played. It's very interesting, but it needs a remaster or a patch to be 60 frames per second. You can presumably get that on PC at 60 frames easily enough, can't you? I've got that. That's another one that I've had on the backlog to try. I've heard good things about it, that it's a little bit weird, but very good. Tony, I've only heard bad things about Benedict, and I especially expect that I won't like it. Yes, I know I've heard that there is a Dragon's Dogma 2 to be shown soon. JJ, so many Total War games to go back and play if only you had a PC. Yeah, I really wish that I played more of those. I'm sure it's a series that I would enjoy, but they are so big. Ghostwire gets boring after a bit. I can believe that. I've heard that. But I really like everything else that Tango Gameworks have done. So, and it looks nice at the start. So I will get to it. I will play it. If it gets boring, it gets boring. That's fine. JJ, which is the best Total War game that you've played? If you were to like give a singular recommendation for a Total War game to get into. The Warhammer one appeals the most. I've never personally like played or understood or made any attempt to get my head around the Warhammer universe. I'm told that it's like one of those that has thoroughly good, enjoyable world building if you want to get into it. One of these properly created universes that I would probably personally adore if I did get into it, but I never have in any capacity. Yet, it's a setting that looks appealing. So of all the Total War games, there's a reason that I have Warhammer 3 installed. And it's not just that it's on Game Pass, because I had Warhammer 2 installed for the longest time, waiting to play as well. Patrick, you think it's one of those games where if you get bogged down doing open world stuff, it gets stale? Yeah. Ghostwire, I will probably beeline quite heavy through the story to get just the good bits. The OST sounds like Final Fantasy 16. I have thus far never used the OST for a game that isn't out yet. But nice try, Tony, nice try. There's a clue for you, it is a game that is already out. Painful Discourse, so you've played some Dragon's Dogma but not finished it. You like the historical settings. The OST is not Jedi. Oh, that's another game on my current backlog. I'm just waiting for a couple more PC patches because it makes sense to wait until. Final Fantasy 16 music was pretty trash. That seems unlikely, Tony. Final Fantasy, like, music is always its redeeming feature if anything else is bad. I will be gutted if Final Fantasy 16 doesn't replicate that. The only dragon stopping you've ever experienced is through Monster Factory. I don't know what that is, Patrick. What's Monster Factory? JJ, are you by any chance, if you like historical settings, are you a fan of the Age of Empires games? And the like documentary presentation? It's another one that I really should play more of. I could actually learn things playing that. Very good, Age of Empires 4. I need to quit everything and become a full-time just plays games streamer so I can do like 12 hours a day to start chipping away at the backlog. That's a good plan. I'll float the idea next time I speak to my family. It's not going to go down well. Can't wait for Grand Theft Auto 6. Weird confession, I've never finished a Grand Theft Auto game. I never played 1 and 2, like the top-down original ones. Obviously I played plenty of 3, as everybody did. But I never got anywhere in 3 because it was quite punishing when you died or got arrested, but also quite going on a crime spree was quite irresistible. Not Advance Wars, Tony. So I would always play Grand Theft Auto, explode as much stuff as I could. Inevitably, like in that scenario, you see how long you can survive and how much chaos that you can cause, but eventually you do die or get arrested. And then it takes everything away from you in that scenario. So I always go on a rampage, lose everything, and then save scum. Alright, well, I'm not saving that. All that happened really, like in realistic, practical terms, I just lost everything that I had. So I'm not going to press the save button. And for that reason, I never, ever got anywhere in any Grand Theft Auto 3. I played 4 a bit, like a decent number of hours, but didn't really get anywhere. I don't think the chaos was quite as enticing in 4, so I did make some progress. But I didn't get anywhere near the end of it. And 5, I had so many troubles with my Rockstar account that I've never actually played 5. Dodge. You enjoy Ibiza, sir. Enjoy your bathing, but then, yeah, enjoy your holiday. I know you're looking forward to it. I know you're going there in the very near future. I expect to hear much from you when you get back. Patrick, we probably have to adhere to the rules of YouTube, and as you know, the nipple stream was yesterday, not today. Tomorrow you are going there, yes. I've just been rabbiting about any old thing. There were topics, structured topics, and we'll get to them. Decado, Age of Reckoning, an old MMO by EA, I believe, has a private server running again. Easy way to look at the Warhammer world. I played Age of Reckoning. I played the Warhammer MMO for a short time. So, timeline of events for MMOs, that one came out. Must have been after World of Warcraft. Or it was close to its launch anyway. I played that one when the game that I loved shut down. I loved a game called Astron's Call 2, which was actually Microsoft owned at one point. It's the reason that I don't like Microsoft. Peter, if you're ever wondering why has Asa got this grudge against Microsoft, it's because they shut down my favourite game. Kind of. And when that went away and Warcraft wasn't scratching whatever itches I had, I tried the Warhammer game. Yeah, it had some nice stuff around it, but yeah, it was very clearly chasing World of Warcraft, as every MMORPG since has done, really, which is a shame. Sounds a bit like a strategy game. What sounds like a strategy game? Dodge going to Ibiza could definitely make a strategy game with some PvP. Yeah. Yes, the Warhammer PvP was what it was known for. It had the like sieges and stuff, didn't it? Large scale PvP. Oh, the OST sounds like. I've not seen the name of the game from the OST mentioned as yet, so that one is still up for grabs. It is not a strategy game. Let's go topics. So I think I've spoken about... Oh, I didn't talk about Redfall yet. I played a bit more Redfall as well. In terms of like looping it right back to the start of the show. I've now played that on 2 separate occasions. I played it with Tony and Painful Discourse on stream after the Apex Legends stuff. Forgot to talk about Apex Legends as well. Never mind. Played Redfall. It's still like 2 hours in, maybe 3. I don't hate it at the moment. I said on Twitter today that I'm going to play it in spite of the Zelda game coming out, and I was being facetious, but it's also true. I am more likely to play Redfall. Which isn't just like, I'm not saying that all the reviews are wrong or anything crazy like that, but playing it on stream with you is like a good time. So it's got so many like, it's redeeming feature. I get all the problems with Redfall. I don't, because I've not really played enough to see the problems unfold. I've seen a few bugs and things, but no drastic boredom has set in. But its redeeming quality for me is just the sheer number of like explosives and oil spills. I can just set fire to whoever I'm playing with, and if you've seen any of my like co-op and competitive streams, then you'll know that that appeals to me. I like to set fire to my friends. Just yeah, that might be why there's so few of them. Food for thought. It's fun in groups. 50 hours spent so far. 50 hours in Redfall. Have you finished it? I hear typically like it properly ends, has a hard ending and sets you back at the beginning. I assume it lets you keep your character for joining other people's sessions and things like that. Peter Moreland, you say Redfall's not fantastic, but it's not a total disaster. How much have you put into it, Peter? How far have you got? You're also very welcome. When I do the open sessions of Redfall, you are also welcome to join. You can stay quiet if you're not wanting to share a voice or whatever, but you can blow up. Yes, Painful Discourse. It's crap on single player. You need people with you to enjoy it. Yeah, a lot of the like design around it is strange. They definitely made some strange choices. It doesn't lean quite hard enough into co-op, but it's definitely not a single player game either. So, yeah, the other game. So I've not played Forspoken. That's on my list of things that I've played because I got this far. Forspoken, by the way, though, the reason that I'm thinking actually I might like this more than some other people is very, very simple, and is a mini conversation in and of itself. The thing that I liked most about Forspoken when I was playing it is that it has almost no HUD most of the time. And that's such a simple preference for me. I like games that don't have interface on the screen. In some games, like if I play Cyberpunk and it wants to stick like maps and details and translating subtitles for me, that makes sense because it's Cyberpunk and I've got cybernetic implants and they're giving me an augmented reality experience. So fine, stick them everywhere if you must. But in most games, I very much favour not even like, don't even give me a freaking crosshair, please. Take everything away. Tell me what I need to know through like in-game cues, like I don't know, like visual representation of how much ammo is remaining in my gun on the gun itself. That's just fine. The way that Ghost of Tsushima gives you directions by blowing the wind everywhere, that's a nice visual cue. Things like that. They're what I like. And I've always hated the way that like Halo has done HUDs. I know the visor makes sense in Halo, kind of contradicting what I said about Cyberpunk, but I don't like an interface. I don't like HUDs. Replicant, you like Ubisoft HUDs? That's sarcasm. Ubisoft is like an interesting talking point on HUDs because people like to make the comparison with Elden Ring. So Ubisoft's HUDs and maps are massively littered with stuff to do, and Elden Ring very famously doesn't tell you anything really. there's very little in the way of queues. And people say that actually if you go into a Ubisoft game, if you prefer the Elden Ring style and you don't like to have that kind of interface, then you can duck into the menu and you can turn almost everything off. And then you've got an interface more like Elden Ring. It's not the same, is it? It's not this, like, just removing information isn't the same as having a game that's actually designed around giving you information in different ways. Which should be like fairly obvious to people that have played these games, but yeah, the less clutter, the less information, the less stuff, the more I can actually see the game and the world and the things that I like. So there are times when you need, like if you're playing a multiplayer game with like support roles and you need to know your teammates' health and stuff, these kind of things make sense and you can't really do without them. But there are so many games that have interface for the sake of interface, HUD for the sake of HUD. Try Humanity with the VR2. It looks good. That's the one game that you would try if you had one. So Humanity is, it had a demo, so I could have tried it already if I wasn't lazy or whatever. I'm going to bring up a trailer for that one for other people's reference because it is an interesting shout. It's a game that's on PlayStation Plus this month, I think, so there's no reason for me not to play the PSVR 2 version. Humanity. Oh, when a game has like a generic name like Humanity, I have to actually think about what to put in to find the trailer. 3 weeks ago, Humanity trailer on the PlayStation channel. This game. This is not the game. What have you done, Sony? I don't know, but I like it. AwesomeWeird.JapaneseGames.net. I may have been deceived. I think I clicked on a link for a trailer for Humanity. Lemmings with humans, and you can play the entire... Yeah, it's a Pancake game as well, Painful Discourse. You can play it Pancake. And it's not like an obvious VR candidate as well. When most people think about VR games, they think first-person games like Gran Turismo or something like that. Humanity doesn't have that obvious perspective, which, as you know, if you've heard me talk about VR, which I occasionally do, isn't a problem. I find games can work in all kinds of perspectives within virtual reality, and I like to see these things explored. So this is, yeah, Lemmings with people. Yeah. And strange advertising. I will play it at some point, yes. So there's another one for the thumbnail pile, Lila. Although, you know, streaming puzzle games is difficult because I have this puzzle face that I'm very self-conscious about. But I have a VR headset on. If I also wear like a face mask, then I can pull whatever faces I want and there's nothing you can do about it. Nobody will know. I will stream it. I stream pretty much everything that I'm playing at the moment. So, oh, there's more trailer. It's doing stuff. I guess I'll put that on. Yeah. Oh, it looks like it's got like a big emphasis on user-generated content as well. User-generated puzzles. I'm going to say no to all of that. Nobody's got the OST yet. Something weird just happened. I know that that's going to come through on stream and be a little bit strange for you as well. Hopefully everything's back and smooth now. Weird freeze. So, first topic, like actual topic. We've managed to go like almost an hour without touching actual topics yet. But the first one is, I don't know, what is it? Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom. Tell me about Tears of the Kingdom, please. As you all know, I can't play a Zelda game. I'm still waiting for a deep discount on Breath of the Wild from Nintendo before I can even jump into that one, let alone the sequel. So it's not on my list of things to play, and to be fair, I'm not even, despite the ridiculously high reviews, I'm not feeling a particularly strong pull to spend 70 quid on it. So, who here is though? Painful Discourse, hoovering up all of the available points. The OST today is, of course, from that classic game that scored similarly highly to the background to Forspoken. It is Rise, Son of Rome. Yeah, well done. You got it. And you got it on what's not particularly a signature track either, so you've done well there. You say that this one is the one that gave it away. I wouldn't have picked it out from this one. Or at least not from the bit that was playing right then while I was talking about it. Yeah, Rise is a pretty game. I've played Rise at some point. Where did I play that? On my channel. Something went wrong. Shut up, YouTube. Nothing went wrong. Everything went wrong. Rise, Son of Rome. As played by everyone's favourite. Oh no, loading, loading. Rise, Son of Rome doesn't want to play right now. Great game, you loved Rise. You're not allowed to love Rise. Everybody hates Rise. It's frozen. Like, I have concerns about what this means for my connection, but Rise, Son of Rome, if you do remember it, getting properly sidetracked every 30 seconds. Stop giving awkward pauses on my stupid face. Rise is going away because we're not having that. Sorry. Quite sneaky part gave it away for you. Get my Switch modded and save myself. No, Baz. Stealing is not the way. Piracy is a whole topic to get into, and I'm not always against it. Like, I'm a fan of ethical piracy, but just taking things that you want isn't that. So. Yes, if I were to play it, I would probably like buy it and then emulate it on the PC. Rise graphics still hold up. Yeah, obviously on the Xbox it never got any kind of update, so it's still like 900p if you try and play it on the Series X. But on the PC side of things, it's still a very, very good looking game. Yes, holds up well. Rise is, I think, a good game until you go back to Rome, which is probably getting like too much into the nitty gritty of a game that no one's played for like a decade. But if you have got more recent memory of it, or if you are familiar with the way the story plays out, it's really, really good while you're going through like fighting the Britons and all of that stuff. And then Marius goes back to Rome, and the story is like, it's unfolding quite nicely at that point, but it's almost like they ran out of time. Probably like the game was developed over a very long period of time, but because it was originally supposed to be a Kinect game, but they got it ready for the launch of the Xbox One. But it's like they ran out of time to tell the story that they wanted to tell back in Rome, so they did this weird sci-fi Colosseum scene with a Roman arena that had like scenery that shifted and changed all over the place, and then like took a shortcut to the boss from there. And it just kind of like fell flat on its face at the point that you do that. But besides that, overall, I liked Rise. I would still very much like to see a sequel to it. Obviously, the situation with Crytek means that said sequel might not be similar, or might be a disaster. I don't know. Hard to call what Crytek can and can't do these days. Painful Discourse, Silk Song had a delay, but nobody likes Hollow Knight anyway, so that's okay. Do you not get resurrected at some point? Damocles, the whole... Yes, there is a story around that. You do have the two god characters manipulating events, and it's quite interesting. It is a good game. Short game with certain areas that definitely needed fleshing out more so than they have been, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Unlike Tears of the Kingdom. So we must have like some people here that are looking forward to playing that one tomorrow or in the near future, or already playing it. Chronic, you hope that Crytek live up to their old standards. I'm fairly sure from leadership right down through the whole hierarchy of the company, they're not really what they were. So it would be cool if they do live up to it, but I'd be surprised as well. Painful Discourse, you like Hollow Knight very much, actually. Yeah, but like you're going through a phase where you think that you enjoy stealth and you think you enjoy Hollow Knight, and I'm telling you what you actually enjoy. And you'll come around. You'll come around. Yes, of course, lots of people like Hollow Knight. That's why people are, like, so many people are looking forward to Silksong. It's got a hell of a following that I just don't massively understand from my time with the game, but yeah, Isla, boo Painful Discourse for disliking. You don't get to dislike. I tell you what you like. You like my stream. Everybody, please. Chronic, there's little left, but if they kept anything, you hope that it was that. Yeah, we can hope. Why not? Rebellions are built on hope. I don't know who we're rebelling against or why I've just pulled out a weird Star Wars line, but yeah, I know Painful Discourse, and I know that you can enjoy your stealth games if you want. Someone's got to enjoy stealth games because they keep bloody making them, and maybe if enough people enjoy them, they'll refine those mechanics until eventually they're actually fun. But no one's stuck their hand up and said that they're getting like Tears of the Kingdom. There must be like Nintendo people here. Am I so hostile to Nintendo that I've not got anybody here that likes Nintendo stuff at all? And even if not, so those of you that aren't looking forward to a bit of Tears of the Kingdom or that don't really care about it, how are we feeling about the 96/97 Metacritic review scores, like the aggregate of all of these journalists and whatnot, being that it's an incredible game worth a 97? What does that mean in practice? That's what I want to talk about. Painful Discourse, you just like Thief, the 3 old ones, not much into other stuff. I've never played those, but I've heard that they are a bit more sophisticated as stealth goes. Chronic, you like OG Mario and Donkey Kong, but no Zelda? Baz, wait, where's you? You said there's... Oh, I got properly confused. This is like the lamest shit in the world. So Patrick put like a hand, an emoji hand, that comes through like this on the OBS chat. And I saw it and thought it was my cursor. I started moving the mouse around going, oh no, has everything crashed? I can't move the cursor, before it clocked that no, that's not my cursor. That's an emoji from Patrick of a hand pointing up. My cursor is just a traditional mouse arrow. I should know this. Breath of the Tears. You don't have the money to spend that much on Switch games. Nintendo are thieves. Yes. So are you planning to play it then? So I won't say buy it, but are you planning to play Tears of the Kingdom? Replicant, you think it's a bit overrated at 97. I'm more curious about what that means for a review score. Like, what is a review score? How are they formulated? Welcome Berserker this, welcome Jordan. Nintendo is for kids. But kids like don't even know who Mario and Zelda are, right? They're games for people that were kids last century. Ridiculous 100 scores when it's dropping to 20 frames per second. Well, this is the thing, Chronic. This is why, this is kind of the subject that I want to pick at. Because for me, like, the way that reviews are formulated, and particularly scored reviews, is hard to make sense of anyway. So you've got weird scenarios where you have like massive AAA games that are picked apart because like, I don't know, they have a couple of bugs in or whatever, and they're reviewed next to a game that's made by like 2 people and is way less ambitious in most regards, but can get a similar score. And it's quite hard to objectively measure up those games next to each other. But then you take a game like a Nintendo game, like a Tears of the Kingdom, and you see this 97, and you're like, if you're reviewing this game and you're looking at the performance and you're seeing that it runs at 30 frames per second and then it drops down to 20 or even 10 frames per second, it seems to have VSync locked, would be my guess. So if it can't hit the 30 target, then it goes down to 20, and then 15 is probably a number that it hits, like anything that will go into the 60 refresh rate. And you look at that and you think, well, should Tears of the Kingdom be like applauded and recognized for being the game that it is on the hardware that it's running on? So should they say like, hey, the Switch is a piece of shit, so the developers have done an amazing job here, let's score it really highly? Or should they be taking this score and using it as like a relative measure against contemporary games? So should they be saying, like, it looks and performs like this, and that, like, reviewing the performance and the graphics of a game is obviously, like, you have to be doing that against contemporaries, right? You can't do that over the course of time, because you can't give a game a score on performance and graphics without acknowledging that you're very much living in the moment there. These things are going to change over time, and in 10 years time games are going to look a lot better. That's just like duh, obviously. But is it okay to completely ignore its contemporaries, the games that are out at the same time? Like, is it okay to look at Tears of the Kingdom, see how it looks next to like a game like, I don't know, Horizon Forbidden West or Cyberpunk or anything like this, and say, yeah, but it's on shit hardware, so we're still going to give it a 97? Replicant, you think it is hardware dependent and they should be rewarded for that anyway. Like, it should be. Because me, as someone perusing games and deciding what to buy, like, I don't know what the correct answer is, because obviously you do have a set of expectations. I know what the Switch is like, or broadly what the Switch is capable of, and I know that I'm not going to get a Cyberpunk or a Horizon out of it. So on the one hand, you can give a review under those circumstances with all that in mind, and it makes a lot of sense. But on the other hand, review's supposed to tell me how good a game is relative to all of its contemporaries. It's not supposed to tell me how close it meets someone's expectations, right? Like, that doesn't seem like a sensible way to score a game. I expected it to be shit, and yep, that's the bar it hit. 100% out. Like, perfect. That's what we expected. I don't know if you should give games good scores because your expectations were low. And yes, it's the same price as those contemporary games, only 70 quid. Historically, without Nintendo, you don't think gamers would exist. They created the whole thing, do not forget. That's fine, Peter. I'm not... like, I worry that they're also going to be like last company standing that I could actually like. When everything becomes subscription and gas based, Nintendo will still be like pumping out games from the 80s, and I'll have to play Mario. It's not that I dislike Nintendo as a company. I dislike the Switch as a console. That's not even true either. Like, the Switch has its place as a console, the same as the Steam Deck and the new ROG thing. They have their place. It's good hardware in certain circumstances, but they are not catering to any circumstances that suit me whatsoever. So it's not actual anger at Nintendo, but I find the review situation weird. Tony, same price, then it should be compared to any game that price. I kind of think that it should, probably. I don't see that it's like, because I've had this conversation before, like similar conversation, when you compare something like Death's Door to something like what's a good example? Yeah, I'm going to go with Horizon again. So Death's Door probably scored higher than Horizon Forbidden West, right? And it's a weird way to try and quantify those two games next to each other, because right, if you look at review score and you see that one's got a 9 and one's got an 8, then does that mean that the game that got a 9 is better than the game that got an 8? And then you look at like why, how, in what universe are they comparable in that way? And what, like, it's not fair on Death's Door to say, yeah, well, I don't know, there's not like a good way to do it. This is why scores are shite for reviews. It's very confusing, and I don't know what the correct answer is, so I just like to pick at it and see what people think and what comes back. It's the IP that gives it its score. Yeah, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom scoring a 97 was not unexpected. It's an IP that's been around for a while. Yeah, so again, like, it being an IP that's been around for a while plays into people having expectations again. You tend to ignore reviews and Metacritic. I largely do as well. but I can't completely ignore it because Gaz insists on talking about it all the time. You do think Nintendo needs to pull the trigger on getting a Switch replacement released, hopefully next year, hopefully last year. The sound in FIFA was amazing, Doppler effect based. You could hear the footsteps exactly where they are on headphones, no visual aids needed like in modern games. You could even eavesdrop at doors. Good. Did you miss to talk about the ROG Ally? No, Yadani, there was no talk about the ROG Ally, but you can say things about it if you want. Are you enthusiastic about that device? Are you looking at the standard model or the extreme model? I'm not a portable player, be it cloud, be it native, be it anything else. Those devices just aren't for me. Unless I start like commuting into London or something and spend a lot of time on the train. That's the only time. I can't even do that, I'd throw up. No, they're just not for me, really. You're trying hard not to spend money, but it looks sick and useful. When you say useful, Yadani, where would you use it? What's the scenario? Is it train or toilet, basically? Those are the scenarios that I'm aware of for portable devices. Sitting on a train, sitting on a toilet, possibly sitting around on like a lunch break at work. Camping, well, is that okay? Can you take it, like, does it count as camping if you've got access to charge up the device? That's like easy mode camping, right? You're camping by an electrical outlet so you can charge your device. Otherwise it's only gonna like last for 2 hours if you're camping trip. As you watch videos on games to judge if you think it's worth playing or buying, not scores. Yep. Glamping is the word, Peter, yes. Dion78 is a name I don't think I've seen. Welcome along. So we're all agreed that Tears of the Kingdom getting a 97 is just like complete nonsense that everybody should ignore. If you like Zelda, go and buy it. And if you don't go and buy it. And if you like Zelda but don't like spending 70 quid, then we'll talk about that another time. So, following on from ridiculously highly rated Tears of the Kingdom that may or may not be a really good game, and you can carry on, by the way, I've not cut off the ROG conversation there, but I've not got too much to add, so I am waiting on things that you have to say in regards to portable devices so that we can respond from there. But going on from Tears of the Kingdom, prior to that game coming out, and possibly only for 1 or 2 days, a whole load of journalists and industry people have been asked by... Who asked? Remind me who asked for the top 10 games. Whole loads of journalists and industry people have submitted their favourite top 10 games of all time to some outfit that's acting as a central body to aggregate and collate all that data to tell us the best games of all time. The best 100 games of all time is the output from this little exercise. And Baz, you've tried it and it's not a 97. Oh, strong. Can't believe that Baz Cryptkeeper thinks that Tears of the Kingdom deserves at least a 98. At least a 98. You heard it. He's saying it's even better than best game ever, Breath of the Wild. So, Yadani, your wife is cool with it. You even bring the projector for movies. Yeah, if you're going glamping, if you've got electricity, then by all means. The device makes some sense there. Quite a lot of money to just go and use in that environment. I would suggest you just take a console with you if you've got a projector there. So sod the ROG thing, just take your Xbox or whatever else. Vampire Survivors is a 96. Fair enough. Replicant, you're thinking about getting the ROG as you tend to have 4 to 5 overnight stays in London due to work. Keep you busy on the journey down and in the hotel. Yeah, it makes sense in that environment. And for me, the thing that will change it for me with handheld gaming is when it's like connecting to a pair of glasses or whatever. So when I can sit on the train and have like a essentially projector screen in front of me to play games, then sure, I'll have more of an interest in these things. But for now, the tiny screen and the hunching over and the like it's just not a comfortable way to play games. So it's very much like portable devices to me are for convenience in very particular circumstances, and if you're not hitting those, if you don't have those, like that particular need, then why would you put yourself through that when you could play properly? That's my feelings on those anyway. Breath of the Wild though, best game ever, except Baz says that Tears of the Kingdom is better. So how do we tackle this? Breath of the Wild, best game ever. Last of Us came second. I think if I were asked to name my 10 best games of all time, yes, but not pizza. I'm going to come back to that in a second. If I were asked to name my top 10 best games of all time, I don't even know where to begin. So that's a question for you. Space Denizen, you kick back in bed and play it. That sounds like horribly uncomfortable. Do you just like hold it above your head until your arms get tired? Or do you, I don't know, just bleh. Not for me. Maybe my bed's just like horrifically uncomfortable, I don't know. Now, while you're all thinking about your top 10 games and how you'd answer that question, if you had to submit the 10 best games ever, I'm going to address Peter's thing about elbowing passengers with my VR portable. I'm not actually talking about virtual reality in this instance. I talk about virtual reality a lot. I like virtual reality a lot. But I'm talking about just the screen. So portable device as it comes now, essentially a controller with some hardware on board to play a game. Big screen strapped to your face, like normal glasses. So I think Nreal already have one that's supposed to be like equivalent of a 100-inch 1080p TV or something, except it's just a pair of glasses. So no augmented reality, no virtual reality, just literally screen that you can wear. You sit up, don't lay flat. Well, you could be sitting on your couch playing on a big TV. Like each to their own, but for me that's not an appealing circumstance. Yeah. 10 games, go. Maybe you should have read the show list. I make those up and don't really follow them. It's been a particularly scatty show today where I'm like darting left and right and not really knowing where I am or what we're talking about. So, and yet here you all are on this ride with me. So thanks for that. Painful Discourse says, come straight in with some. Bloodborne, Ico, that I know what that stands for. I know what game it is. I know it's that Sony one with the horse riding and the bosses. Shadow of the Colossus, that's what it's called. They're all high up there and a lot more that you like, so you're good. So I've never played Ico, never played Shadow of the Colossus, have played Bloodborne. Space Denizen, it's just different. You play on the couch too. It's just more chill. It's like I see lots of people that do like it. So I don't know. XCOM, and no apologies. Are you talking about original XCOM, Peter? Are you talking about the game that you worked on? Because I'm not sure you're allowed to nominate your own work. Isla would vote Minecraft as the best game ever. I'd assume that one was on the list somewhere, Isla. I'd be surprised if it didn't make it into the top 100, but no one's volunteered the information about who it was, so I can't look it up. I'm going to look it up. It's like GQ or something? Let's see if this is recent. I've got an article. It's a shit article from some website that's just copied them and put it across multiple pages now. Okay, so they've got number 1. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This is funny to me because this list came out like yesterday or something. Yeah, 10th of May it came out, and the number 1 best game ever was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The very next day, reviews for the sequel came out saying that it's better than Breath of the Wild in every way. What can you do with the top 100 games of all time when the very next day there are a load of reviews saying it's better than that one? It's the sequel, it's the same, but it's even better. Your whole list is redundant now. Because the same journalists have changed their mind a day later. Your online shopping, what we buying? Is it Minecraft stuff? It's a dangerous trance if you start going into merch and things. Deadly Headley, Red Dead 2 is your favourite. See, Red Dead... Why are you angry? I didn't say anything to make you angry. Red Dead, I played the tutorial and didn't get along. World of Warcraft is number one. Painful shudder. Red Dead Redemption 2, I played the snowy part and I got so sick of hold A to ride horse that I gave up. And I see clips from it. I see people setting fire to the grass and the fire spreading all over the place and the grass burning out. And I saw a clip today of someone lassoing a guy on a horse as he was about to fire his shotgun. This is just a normal NPC and the shotgun flipped round, he shot himself, and it's like, oh, that's a physics driven accident. And like that kind of sandbox I love, so I know that I should be playing Red Dead Redemption 2. But hold A to ride horse during the tutorial just killed it for me. I just couldn't do it anymore. So that is another one. It's on my list. I need to go and play Red Dead. List is pointless. World of Warcraft's number one. Chronic has got Bubble Bobble. Moonshiners on the Atari. Silkworm on the Atari. Gears 1, Halo 3, Tomb Raider 2, Grid, Golden Axe. Batman on the Atari and Robocop. That is an eclectic list of nostalgia, I'll say. Not much recent there at all, actually, from your favourites. Gears and Halo probably being the closest. Wait, Grid the racing game? Fair enough. So let's just have a little flick through this list while it's here, right? Breath of the Wild, best game ever, until 2 days later when the sequel comes out. That's better in every way. Last of Us is second place. Can't say I'd hold it in that high regard, but okay. Tetris can fuck right off. I guess I'm glad that Tetris isn't number one again. But Tetris is the third best game of all time. Bloodborne is fourth. That's like... And The Witcher in 5. So, The Witcher is the first one that we've come across that I would have in my own personal top 10, I think. 6th is Mass Effect. 7th, Metal Gear Solid. Gateway 2? What's Gateway 2? It's one of the best games ever. I've never heard of it. Half-Life 2 makes the top 10 as well. I'm going to have a little scroll. I'm going to find Minecraft for Ida's sake. World of Warcraft came in at number 22. Meow. Minecraft. I'm going to have to Control F this thing. Minecraft. Oh, it's 24th, so it came quite high on the list. Some people nominated it. Yeah, it's a list that means very little to me. Half-Life 2, Portal 2 and Bloodborne for the win. Fair. JJ, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Valhalla and Black Flag. 3 Assassin's Creed games in the top 10 of all time. Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. God of War, which God of War? Footy Manager, Need for Speed Underground, Witcher 3 and Hitman Blood Money. So there's certain games, like in a sense it should be the same question, but if somebody asked me for my favourite games and somebody else asked me for the best games, I don't know if the answers will be the same. Think about that one for yourself for a minute, because I want to know what you think there. Are they the same thing to you? Are your favourite games and what you would consider the best games the same list? I'd find it much easier to answer what are your favourite games question. I could throw up a number of those probably. But I don't know that all of them would sit well in a best games ever list. Like there's a couple of really old ones. I really like Panzer Dragoon Saga. And I really like Shining Force 3. But I don't think I'd put either of them on a best games of all time list. They're just some of my favourite games of all time. And same Asheron's Call 2 that I mentioned. One of my favourite games of all time. Much prefer it to World of Warcraft. But I would definitely not put it on a list like this over World of Warcraft. Because it wouldn't make sense. Then I've got Quake 3 and Rocket League are both games that I think would deserve to be on a list like this because quality was there as well as being some of my favourites. Criminal that Bloodborne doesn't have a 60 frames per second patch or a PC release. Yes, Replicant, something has gone horribly wrong. over at Sony for that one to, like, people have been asking for a patch for that game since the PlayStation 4 Pro came out. It is lost to time. Replicant, I would also, yes. Like, we can team up for the killing to get a full-blown remake of that. It was a wonderful game. I tried to play it fairly recently as a revisit. It's quite hard to look at on a modern TV. It's still good, but it's hard to look at now. Patrick with the Candy Crush Saga, Flappy Bird, Angry Birds. Yeah, if it was a popularity contest, then it would be hard not to include the likes of that stuff. Hopefully gaming's not a popularity contest. Rocket League you don't play now, but it's a fantastic game. Rocket League's spiritual successor to Quake. Nobody like sees it apart from me, but those two games had like this visceral, uncapped skill ceiling of fair play. They're just competitive, brilliant games. They should be played forever. So yes, Rocket League and Quake 3 I hold in very high regard for multiplayer. Way better than your Apex Legends and Fortnite. Thrill Kill is your number one. Not heard of, but I love it. What else have I got on my list? I don't know. I very much like the first Halo, so Combat Evolved, that would be on my list. Witcher 3 would be on my list, probably. Skyrim I haven't finished yet, so I'd be a fraud to put it on my list, but I'm going to do so much of that in VR in the near future. Is that 10 yet? It's probably not. But these are games... Oh, Phantasy Star Online, definitely not one of the top games ever, but one of those like games that was quite pivotal in me finding games that I enjoyed. Loved that game. And like I said before, my most played game is probably World of Warcraft, but it's not one of my favourites. Absolutely not. So, oh, I loved Warcraft 3 as well. Warcraft 3 should be on there. Phantasy Star Online was good on the Dreamcast. Phantasy Star Online, so between Quake 3 and Phantasy Star Online, those were both like my introduction to proper online gaming, both via the Dreamcast. So Quake 3 it was only 4-player mode, and it was through terrible in the UK we had a 28k modem, so you'd be playing, if you were lucky you'd have under 200 milliseconds of ping, but that was if you were very lucky. And I loved it. Peter, I'm not sure you get to throw them out. We'll still have a little look over them, it's all good. So yes, Phantasy Star Online threw me into my still current love of MMORPGs, which is what led me on to Asheron's Call 2 that I adored. That was a very direct lead on. So I've been playing Phantasy Star Online, the Dreamcast was going away, and I was like, I went to town looking for an online RPG, and that one was just sitting on the shelf, didn't know what it was, picked up 2 copies of it, my wife played it as well, and it was wonderful. Loved that game. Shame it's gone forever. Well, I'll be playing the Diablo 4 Server Slam this weekend. Open question for everyone. Who's getting on Diablo 4 this weekend? I will not be, because it's a Server Slam and sitting in queues and having connection problems is the least appealing way I could use my time. Diablo 4 I'm very much looking forward to. I played a lot of Diablo 3. I liked that game a lot. 4 was good. I played the beta. My typical stance on betas and demos is to avoid them. I don't generally... Particularly if it's a game that I know that I'm already planning to get, then I prefer not to play them beforehand, because it just takes a little something away from launch day if I've already played it a bit. So like Replicant says, I don't want to play it again until launch. I regret playing it the first time. Like a little bit, not a lot. But it was a waste of time. I'm going to have to do that content again. So yes, I will wait until launch. Then I will get on Diablo 4. Who is partaking in actual Diablo 4 when it comes out? So 2 questions. Who's playing Server Slam this weekend? And who's like getting the game in the very near future when it comes out in June? Peter Morland, you so want to love Sea of Thieves, but always find a hard start. Is that what you're asking? You're saying Sea of Thieves? Space Denizen, I saw you say that Quake 1 to 3 are great on the Quest. I might have to try some of these Quest native games. I've seen a few of them looking very nice. But I'm not sure if my stomach could handle Quake 3 or the other Quakes, to be honest. Like, when you play the desktop designed first person shooters in VR, then that need to strafe is my undoing. But yeah, I could have a little go at it. Might be fun until I throw up. What looks so good? What game are we talking about? Is it Sea of Thieves or is it a different SOT? Signs of tiredness. No. You weren't going to buy it, but you think you're changing your mind. Really enjoyed the base when it plays nicely over remote play. Ugh, what a gross way to play things. No, that's fine. It is Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, I'm the opposite to everyone else. Like, everyone else hated it when it came out and grew to love it. And I kind of loved it when it came out and hoped that it would become more than it is. I was disappointed with the direction that they've taken it since. There are things about it that they've added in terms of content that make it nice, but they never fixed my core concerns around it. So Sea of Thieves is a beautiful game, really nice, like really nice looking, and as sandboxy stuff goes, they designed everything to be like very manual and clunky in a good way. You can't roll. Yeah. Oh, Diablo 4. Yeah, the lack of roll is a horrible design choice. I don't know why they've done that. The game is still looking really good though. Like, I'd still recommend having a play. Simple Jack, you've never played Diablo, so if you can get in and like it, then you'll buy. Yeah, if you're on the fence and you're not sure whether to play it or not, that's when a demo and a beta does make a lot of sense. So get on. Don't judge it by the queues and connection problems, because it is a service LAN weekend, but see if you like the game. Sea of Thieves Acer stream. So I have streamed that in the past. It's not impossible that I can do that. We can do some. In fact, Sea of Thieves would be a good one to have as like an open stream where people can just join my boat and have a good laugh. It's a game that's not about the destination, but rather the journey. It was always about the journey, and the journey was always good. The emergent gameplay as a concept, I liked a lot. Like, just getting on your boat with a loose objective and just stuff happening as you go was a lot of fun. But they never added. I always wanted like some kind of pirate persistence. So what was the most disappointing update for me in all of Sea of Thieves was one of the early updates for it. They added cosmetic scars. You could, if you did certain content, then you could choose to equip a shark bite scar or something like that. That was so disappointing to me, because I always felt that that should be what the game was. That should be the persistent element. Your pirate should be growing like a Fable character. So not about power. Sea of Thieves made a choice early on that progression in character power and equipment and stuff like that was never going to be a part of it. It was all cosmetic and fun stuff, so that the playing field was always level and people could always just jump in together and have fun. I liked that, but I wanted my pirate's adventures to be what made my pirate. So if I got bitten by a shark and it left a scar, then I would have a scar. I'd have a shark bite, and maybe there would be ways in the game to like get that healed up if you wanted to, but it was real. It was a consequence of a thing that had happened, not a cosmetic that you went and equipped at a treasure chest on your boat. And that was very disappointing for me. Work retirement dues are difficult. Oh, Tom, should have stayed home and eaten some more of your Hunter's chicken. Especially when the stand-up comedy, does no one realise that shit is very subjective? Was the stand-up comedy, like, did they hire someone in to do some comedy? Or did you, like, have a work colleague that thought they were funny? Pirates of the Caribbean DLC was okay. There's lots of elements of Sea of Thieves that are okay. It just, the things that irked me about it were, one, that persistence thing. I think there was so much potential. Like, before the game came out, everyone expected you'd be able to pick up the actual Pirates of the Caribbean curse, right? Like, or something similar. Like, you would be stuck as a skeleton at some point in your adventures, and there would be some way to cure that. This would just be like the kind of, this is how I envisioned the game before it came out, is that stuff would happen and it would mean something, and it really doesn't. You can choose to be a skeleton if you've got the right cosmetics. That's not the same as picking up a curse and having to deal with it. So that kind of thing, I don't know. There was so much potential to do it so much better, I think. But I'm comparing them to my own vision for the game, my expectations. So it doesn't get a 97 because I expected something very different. The other thing that it got very wrong was the risk, reward, and consequence balance is massively out of sync in that game, and it still is. So the way that Sea of Thieves handles PvP is essentially the only thing that really matters is the treasure that you have on your ship. So if you've got treasure and standing like on your voyage, then you're a valuable target and there's some consequence to getting sunk. But if you haven't, if you've just logged on, you've got an empty boat and you feel like attacking people, there's no risk to it whatsoever. So the PvP was just boring because you're either a PvE player, like going about your business trying to get your treasure and stuff, who is vulnerable to arseholes, or you're an arsehole who has no risk or consequence to any of your actions whatsoever. So they got the balance horribly wrong there. There needed to be some tension and reason to actually want to keep your ship afloat. And these things are just like, they must be able to see these problems and they're choosing to keep it this way. So I don't know, Sea of Thieves is like nice in some ways. The whole idea of emergent gameplay and everything being real players and all the rest of it was almost so cool. And the sailing is quite fun. Would have been okay in VR. And Baz, everything's better in VR. Sea of Thieves, I suspect, would have made a lot of people sick. But the way that all the mechanics are like essentially physically driven, yes, it would have worked very well in VR. Still could if they wanted to, but I'm sure someone there has wanted to at some point in time, but Microsoft say no. John Rocks, if favourite means longest played, then yours would be The Witcher 3, Persona 5 and Beat Saber. Interesting. So I played a fair amount of Witcher 3. I didn't get along with Persona 5 particularly. I played a little bit of Beat Saber. My longest played is definitely between like World of Warcraft, Quake 3. To be honest, those are the standouts. Asheron's cool too. And then it probably drops off quite a lot to like Phantasy Star Online and other games like that. And then you go into single player ones and they're all dramatically shorter. Single player games dramatically shorter than like service ones that actually gripped me. Or multiplayer ones, I should say, not service, wrong word. Tom, you had to listen to jokes from management staff who thought they were funny by getting political. Oh, yeah, that's gross. I'm sorry you've had such a bad time. Right. So Baz, you were sick of getting attacked on it or fixing the ship. Yeah. The sea looked nice after the update. You think that was the last time that you were on it, you think? The sea looked nice from launch. They made it look even better. Did I ever play Guild Wars 2? Replicant. I played Guild Wars 2 when it came out. And it was nice, but lonely. And I played Gears of War 2 with Isla and Jack probably about a year ago. And it's like a mobile phone Candy Brush bit of nasty at the moment. Guild Wars 2 had like quite interesting combat and it had so much going for it. I liked the plant people and various things about it. I liked their approach to the world, to like trying to make it interesting to explore and like just events happening everywhere and all of that kind of stuff. But I really, really get irked by daily log-on rewards and streaks and stuff you can buy, and the fact that everybody in the game was running around with ridiculous particle effect costumes because cosmetics had run rampant. So yes, I have played Guild Wars 2. Have you, Replicant? I'm assuming you'll mention it because of that. Yes, Isla. Fire boobs, ice boobs, and all the other flavors as well. And I just wanted to see some like regular farmer boobs or something. Like you're supposed to start a game in rags and tatters. You spent quite a bit of time into it. At what point in time, Replicant? Like recent or in its like nearer to its launch and stuff? Oh, and it had its like life story and stuff. It has some really neat stuff going on in Guild Wars. They just let all the sinister stuff run away with it a little bit. Final Fantasy 14, you'll get all the cat boobs you want. Yeah, bunny ears and cats everywhere. I tried Final Fantasy 14 more than once. It's such a weak start in that game that I never managed to get further. It's also very much just a World of Warcraft reskin. If we've got a group here though that are like, oh, let's all jump on an MMORPG. Like, I love the genre so much. It is my favorite genre that I do not play. So I will be there. Because they are games that are obviously way more fun if you know people playing them and you can do the stuff together. WoW 3, not 3, World of Warcraft reskin. Tony, like Final Fantasy 14 is unashamedly a World of Warcraft reskin. Like nobody can argue that it's anything else. Yes, it has Final Fantasy tropes and things. Space Denizen, Zenith update today. Have I ever played it? I have. I love Zenith. I'm scared of its future because it's monetized too generously. Like Zenith is a buy it for a low price and play it game, which means at some point they're surely going to introduce daily login rewards and things you can buy. But Zenith, like people that have seen me playing VR stuff know kind of what it's about. It's a little bit basic in some ways, but super cool. Zenith is a virtual reality only. I'd say MMORPG. They might not quite term it like that, but you haven't played it since the launch month. You're excited to get back in tonight. It's a really cool game. And it will become, hopefully, Tony, yeah, a bit of a cult for the VR gamers. It deserves a lot more like attention than it got. Its biggest problem is that it supports Quest native play, which means that the whole world has to stay fairly basic forever. But they've updated it quite a lot. It's got a PlayStation VR 2 release where they pushed the graphics up a bit, and they brought that all over to the PC as well. They're doing nice things for it. Zenith has really nice traversal. Like it has, like, you can run as you would in most games. It's got very freeform climbing, so you can climb the entire environment with your hands. Like anything that you can see, pretty much you can climb. And it has gliding, so once you've done that climbing, you jump and you use your arms and you just like glide around everywhere. And it actually made it really nice to just get around the world. Combat it's not like blade and sorcery level. It's not really physics driven, but it did its best to semi-replicate that and give proper VR combat. And it's quite a nice game. So yeah, Space Denizen, I would like to play that more. And when I did play it, the community that were in it was like thoroughly nice as well. Everyone was just excited on the comms, like open microphones, having a good time, and asking me what the hell the noise was because I was running around on my treadmill. Good times, good times. Lots of new content. I'm going to see if I can find Zenith. My previous attempt at playing anything on my YouTube channel didn't work, but no, that's not my channel. Wait for it. For those unaware of how I play my VR games, whoa, this will be a shock for you. This channel has no content for Zenith. I've lost it. Whenever I played Zenith, apparently I didn't title the stream anything to do with Zenith, so I can't find it. But it was a good time. It was a good time. Has anyone guessed the background? Yes, Tom, the background is gone, but if you want to have a crack at it, if you think you recognize it, then by all means add it there. The OST and the background, you're welcome to have a stab at them. They have both been guessed already. Did my new VR treadmill arrive? No, it's not been dispatched from China yet. It's going to be like 2 months until I actually get it. I've still got the first generation treadmill to run around on. The new one is going to be a long way off. It is not Elden Ring. It is not Elden Ring. See, I thought you were asking because you did recognize it. But if it's guessing game, then you might struggle for a little bit. Ah, Patrick has obviously missed the answer as well. No, not Suicide Squad. Not Elden Ring. Tree is not right. Oh, I didn't mention when I was talking about the top 10 games, like the Mass Effect games. So how would you handle that in your top 10? Because the Mass Effect games would definitely be in my list, but I don't know which one. Like I say, the third one is my favourite. I'd probably cheat and say Mass Effect Legendary Edition. That would go in my top 10, even though I've never played it as the Legendary Edition. Oh, Patrick, I welcome your jokes, but I need to understand that it's a joke. If I ever do the Elden Ring or Bloodborne soundtrack, I think I have done Elden Ring before. I've definitely had Elden Ring as a background before. Tom's a Mass Effect 1 fan of the three. We had a brief conversation on that earlier, Tom, on favourites. I lean to 3 despite the ending. Wow. And the other topic for today, let's go into this quickly before I forget. I just wanted to briefly talk about third-party publishers and which ones you like and why. And the reason for this is something that EA said. So EA were talking in there, they did their fiscal results or whatever boring nonsense it was, and they, I assume, were asked about their concerns or thoughts around the publishing landscape if Activision Blizzard King get hoovered up by Microsoft. And they were saying that EA are the biggest and best publisher on Xbox and will remain that way regardless of what happens in terms of consolidation in the industry and all the rest of it. They're uniquely positioned to remain the biggest and best publisher because they're awesome, or whatever they wanted to say. And EA is an interesting case because they were obviously much hate. Don't just yell publisher names at me. Hold it and tell me a little bit more. Tell me, I'm assuming you're telling me the ones you like, but I want to know why you like them and what makes them special and why you hate them and what makes them evil. EA were obviously like much maligned. People really didn't like them for the way they ruined various games and monetized the crap out of everything. And they took a lot of stick for it, but they're on like an upswing where people love them at the moment because this year they've had, what's that game? Dead Space. And the Star Wars one that's just come out, like proper single player, high quality narrative games that aren't packed with microtransactions and bullshit. So they've been redeemed and people like them at the moment. They've obviously also got, and the reason they're so confident about their standing probably is the sports games and the like. So FIFA and all that kind of shit. Yeah, Wild Hearts didn't really make much of a splash, but it's not sinister and evil, is it? It just was a little bit scrappy when it came out, I guess. But yeah, EA suddenly quite a popular publisher, and they're feeling pretty confident that they'll remain successful and popular going forwards. But it just raises questions because they're saying like they're uniquely positioned to do that, and then you have to look at the field and see what other publishers there are and what kind of state they're in. And that's the brief conversation. I want you to yell things and tell me what you think about them. EA lost the FIFA contract. Yeah, they didn't mention FIFA by name, and obviously they've lost the contract in terms of name. They've still got some element of the license, right? So I'm sure they'll find a way to transition their football fans over to whatever their EA football game's called. Peter, I know you've mentioned Team 17 before. I'm still not sure they are what you think they are anymore. I think they've got a reasonable history, but I don't know. I don't know about current Team 17. I wouldn't list them as one that, like, a name that I currently trust. Devolver Digital are obviously legends for multiple reasons. They've got a golden touch in terms of identifying quality. Like, they just somehow pick out games like Angerfoot that looks amazing. Let's have an Angerfoot trailer. Angerfoot. Because that's a Devolver Digital special. They've got a knack for just picking games that resonate with twats like me. Oh, don't give me all of this shit. Angerfoot coming 2023. This is an older trailer for it, but it will do anyway. Angerfoot. Yeah, they just pick games that work somehow. They've got Cult of the Lamb was one of their recent ones that, yeah, less my cup of tea, but still a big success and much loved. They are everyone's favourite publisher since they started doing Like, they've got a really cool social media presence as well. It's one of the few that's genuinely funny. I don't like corporate social media in general, but Devolver Digital managed to skirt that line where they don't feel very corporate at the moment. And yeah, a label for fun games. So good for them. Capcom is you got to mention Capcom. They can do no wrong at the moment, really, can they? So they were in a hard place in terms of finances, and like potential for Capcom to sink, cease to exist entirely was pretty realistic just a few years ago. Then they started hitting the Resident Evil remakes and things like that. They've got their Resident Evil Reach for the Moon engine and just keep cracking out successful games. Not sure about Exoprimal, but it's nice to see them trying weird shit, I guess. Patrick, all big third-party publishers are a bit scummy. Well, that's the issue with third-party publishers. Most of them are obviously in it for the money, which always leads to being a bit scummy. JJ, Ubisoft and CD Projekt Red for IP. CD Projekt Red for IP? What IP? Now, obviously, they license out the Witcher game, and they've got Cyberpunk as theirs, which I'm very much enjoying at the moment. Effective twat resonation is the key to happiness. Yes, Tom. Yes. Looks good. Reminds you of High on Life. I've still not got through High on Life. So Ubisoft are a high-risk publisher at the moment, in that who knows if they're still going to be Ubisoft in a couple of years' time. Resident Evil 8 was even decent. Capcom have been like smashing out successful games, and they're one of the last publishers that still charges a reasonable price for their games as well. Devolver Digital and like smaller, like publishers that are doing smaller games with more flexible pricing, love that. But Capcom are doing big games and still refusing the £70 price point, so like them for that. They turned it around pretty quickly, yes they did, and they're very valuable now. Future Witcher games and Cyberpunk, you feel like they'll continue to bring out great new IP. Yeah, they've got quite a heavy focus on The Witcher going forwards, haven't they? Witcher and Cyberpunk, but they have got a third new IP. You're right, they've got something else cooking that will hopefully turn out good. Ubisoft seem lost at the moment. Baz, yes, I'm mixing up comments, but yes, Capcom are good. So I'm not disagreeing with you if that's what you're saying. They've been pretty good in the past year. Resident Evils, yes. Like I say, Capcom, I'm not sure that Exoprimal was going to hit, but they've got it on Game Pass, so they'll still get a little chunk of money either way. Ubisoft. So Ubisoft, I used to like Ubisoft. Ubisoft were always like the first publisher of the major ones, and they were one of the bigger publishers. They were like the first one to embrace new technology and experiment with weird things, and I always liked them for that. But that's not the Ubisoft that's still there today. So example of that, like when Xbox came out with the Xbox One and the Kinect, Ubisoft released Fighters Within, and it was fucking awful. It was a terrible game. And when virtual reality came out, they released, I can't remember what their Wolf game was called, and Star Trek Bridge Crew and Space Junkies. Like, they tried. They didn't get success in that space, but they see new technology. They were one of the only publishers supporting the Wii U when that was around. And they were always, like most of the big publishers, your EA and Activision and all of that lot, they play it very safe when consoles transition and new technology comes about. And they do like cross-platform, cross-generation games for as long as they can. And just like vaguely dip a toe into the new technology. But Ubisoft were always right in there willing to try. And now they seem to just be struggling a bit. Their release cadence is terrible. They had some games ready for the console launch, and they've just been pretty quiet since. Their subscription service is like laughable, and they just don't seem to know what they're doing. So hopefully, like their safe established IP will turn out well. I'm not a big fan of any of their games really. Like Assassin's Creed being stealth at its root. I know that it's not anymore, but it started off as a stealth series, so I never got into it. Far Cry, Watch Dogs, none of them have really done anything for me. So for me, if Ubisoft are mitigating risk and playing it safe in those established IP, then they're kind of dead to me. Which is a shame. Not heard anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2. Yeah, it's like apparently still ongoing, but they just seem to be struggling at the moment with their own size and scale. Space Junkies had a dumb launch though. I never played it, Space Denizen. I heard it was actually a good game. Bridge Crew and Space Junkies was so fucking good. I didn't like Bridge Crew very much. Bridge Crew was always like clearly made fun by the people that you played with, but the game itself was kind of bleh. Nathan, you've not heard it? Welcome, Nathan. Sorry, I've already read your comment, but I didn't catch your name. The problem is that Ubisoft chase trends, they don't create them. But that's the opposite of what I was saying before they're Replicant. Like that's the Ubisoft now. They chased Battle Royale with Hyperscape, and they apparently had another like 7 or 8 service games in the works. They had that roller skating one, that was awful. You're right that they chase trends, but the Ubisoft that I was talking about that released those 3 VR games, that released the Fights Within Connect game, that can't remember what they released on the Wii U, but they were right there supporting it. They weren't like, they were getting in early and doing experimental weird shit. So yeah, this one that chases trends and puts all of their eggs into their established franchises. I mean, maybe they've been burnt by Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Skull and Bones. But I don't know. I don't see Ubisoft remaining a powerful independent publisher for that much longer. I'll say that. Werewolves Within, that's the one. Among Us before Among Us, yes. More complex rule set. Probably fun. Never did play it though. Notice how nobody has mentioned Square. Well, I was going to get to Square. Square is the other one alongside Ubisoft that I consider unmitigated disaster. It's not unmitigated actually, because Square's CEO is due to step down in June or July. Biggest hope. There's such an interesting like experiment watching Square Enix kind of chew their own face off, and then give you a little glimmer of hope, and then go back to chewing their own face off. So as a publisher, we've seen the way that they handle Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and like their entire Western outfit as a disaster. We've seen what they've done with like Final Fantasy and the like, and we've seen how they've always been disappointed by everything. And we've seen how much money they lost with Marvel's Avengers. No, Tony, not me. Square Enix chewing faces. The only game you want from Square is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but they don't own Eidos Montreal anymore. They got them over to Embracer, so you don't want Square to touch it. Ubisoft's catalogue is Skull and Bare Bones. You're not wrong, Yadani. Good pun, good pun. So it's kind of weird to start chasing trends in an age when games have 5 to 6 years of dev time. Yeah, they should probably consider that. It probably does, like, is the reason a lot of them come unstuck. Painful Discourse. Chasing the wrong trends at the wrong times. Missing fads and phases that pass quickly. Or thinking that they had a chance against Fortnite, like that its time would pass. But Square Enix, so they had disaster after disaster chasing this global audience, and then there was this little phase where they just seemed to be toning it down, like pulling it back a little bit and focusing on what they're good at. And you had your Octopaths and Triangle Strategies and range of other games that had exactly the same font for the title for some reason, Deerfield Chronicles and things like that. And I looked at this Square Enix and I saw them sell their Western studios, and I thought they they couldn't handle Western studios anyway. And now they're getting back to their core and their roots. And maybe this is a good thing. Maybe Square Enix now can focus on making these like little properly Japanesey games that I enjoy, and I'll get back to like liking their output and liking them as a publisher. And then like a week later they started talking about NFTs. Yeah, Square seems to be doubling down on NFTs, exactly, Replicant. So they looked like they were making clever decisions, getting rid of the stuff that wasn't working for them and focusing on what they were good at, which is proper. Like, I think it's, I can't remember who it was that didn't like the term Japanese RPGs, but I will still use it until it's not okay. I think it is okay. Japanese RPGs with their strength and speciality, or even just unique games. And I was like, yeah, they're going to double down on those. They're going to make good stuff again. And then, yeah, they went NFTs. We're going to do so cool with NFTs. So now the only hope for Square Enix is their CEO is stepping down. He did announce, they did announce a while ago that he's stepping down in June or July. So unless they replace him with an even more NFT hungry dude, bro, maybe there's hope for them. They do release too many games too close together, yes. Like, too many games too close together with the same font for the title. It's strange. To be fair, Fortnite did miss the mark, but did pivot to a Battle Royale based on the multiplayer base that it had. Fortnite's a weird case study, right? I've had the Fortnite Save the World game. Like, it's basically a separate game. A flop of a game. And yes, they managed to... They chased the trend. The trend obviously being PUBG. They chased with a very quick pivot. Like, they identified this thing, and a very small team within Epic decided to have a crack at copying it. They were like, oh, we can do that with the engine that we've got. Let's have a go at it. And it blew up big time. And that was like... It wasn't so much trend chasing as being pushed by the trend, though. It's a little bit different, the way that Fortnite came to be what it is. And Epic did phenomenally well to keep on top of it. You think Sony are going to acquire Square? Yeah, like, hopefully. They are a publisher that needs saving. Tom, they pivoted within a fortnight, seemingly. Yes. Yes, they did. And then somehow, despite it not even being planned to be this kind of live service game, they did so much better than 343 and the like in terms of pumping out content. You don't like Fortnite? Epic killed the new Unreal Tournament for it. Yeah, Unreal Tournament was never as good as Quake anyway, so it's okay. It is a shame. I don't dislike Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite. But as a showpiece, it's quite interesting. Too much shite stand-up. You would have loved it if you got Fortnite puns instead of political jokes, right? You should be the stand-up comedian next time. Fortnite is a demo, Tony. It's also one of the biggest games in the world. So it does both things. I love Fortnite. I respect Fortnite. I definitely don't love it. It's Battle Royale. Don't like Battle Royale. You know this. Channel law. Baz, you bought Fortnite when it came out, then it became free. Yeah, I had the Save the World bought version at some point in time as well, before it was a Battle Royale. It's a cross-marketing tool. It's not just a cross-marketing tool. It's an Unreal Engine tech demo. It's a pop culture phenomenon and a cross-marketing tool. All of these things. If you like Fortnite or not, you have to respect the devs. And yeah, in terms of when you look at the way that others have tried, and like even those that have succeeded with live service, there's nothing else in the industry that's pumped out for like content like Epic have with Fortnite. So this is what I mean when I say like they did well to they rode a wave that they didn't particularly anticipate. They didn't see Fortnite Battle Royale being what it is today, but they tamed that somehow. Dragon Ball Z skins incoming second wave. I thought we'd already had 2 waves of those. Oh well. Anyway, what other third-party publishers? That's probably enough, isn't it? It's probably enough. It's 11 o'clock. So we all agree that Devolver Digital are cool, and all publishers should be held to the fire until they give up their capitalism and just make games for game's sake. Do more? No, 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 no. Nobody wants to hear any more. You've been tempted by the characters because you like the 80s films. The 80s films players. Wait a minute, which characters? Like every character from everything has been in Fortnite by now, but apart from Steve question mark, because his head's the wrong shape. Oh, the aliens ones, yeah. Well, their head's the wrong shape, so that throws that theory out. You really should try it. Fortnite, the building has been removed from some modes. Yeah, that's a weird one. Like, the building was what set it apart and made it interesting, but I also kind of hated it. I don't know. I don't like Battle Royale, so it wasn't really the building that put me off of it. The concept of dropping into a map, running around, collecting shit, and then eventually, like, just dying with a, depending on squad numbers, like a 1 in 50 or a 1 in 33 chance of actually winning, was not a satisfying gameplay loop to me. Then you have to wait, collect another 100 players, drop into the map again, collect all your loot again, then get into a fight, and then repeat. Such a different loop and pace to Quake 3 Arena, which is what people should be playing. So much more fun. One funny thing, Destiny is bleeding devs and going offline all the time and being in rough shape, and no one is saying that Sony is mismanaging them. To be fair, Destiny is well established. Robocop, too many. Yeah, Robocop's in there. Terminator and Sarah Connor have both been in there. Obviously Halo and like Master Chief and Kratos and the Dragon Ball characters and all kinds of, like, everything's been in there, all in a big mishmash of weirdness. Marvel characters. Pizza, did Top Chat filter out all of Isla's messages again? It keeps on doing that. Tony, Destiny's trash. You won't be surprised once they close the servers, once PlayStation's... don't know, Tony. I don't think Destiny is all bad. I don't like Destiny 2. I don't like Destiny had quite a heavy emphasis on daily quests or bounties or whatever they're called. Daily anything is a mistake. Games shouldn't have daily anything. Daily login rewards, daily quests, daily activities, daily this, daily that, daily, like, no, fuck off. Let me play when I choose to play. So, I see Travis's brain drain theory coming true. Who's Travis? What's the brain drain theory? Get some new players in, as the onboarding to Destiny 2 is awful. Has anyone... So Replicant, you are a World of Warcraft player though, right? Like, there's no game that has a worse onboarding than that at the moment. The most recent Monster Hunter game has a terrible onboarding, but in terms of, like, MMOs or similar, like, online first games, World of Warcraft is horrible to try and get into. Oh, Thai Guy Travis. No, he's still on my, like, near list. Because he said, I was watching a seasoned gaming thing a while ago, like quite a long time ago, and he was adamant, and he said he takes issue with anybody that thinks that cross-gen gaming is holding back what can be delivered on the consoles and things. And I was like, we could discuss that, but it's not a good take. So I don't know what his theory is, but I don't trust it. He seems like a nice enough guy. I like the season gaming lot in general, but I think PlayStation is winning with best games released up to now. I think PlayStation's game releases... There's a lot of talk about, like, PlayStation having a quiet year this year and Xbox having a quiet prior year. And I would say, like, yeah, I think PlayStation have come out really, really strong this gen, surprisingly so, because PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 had terribly slow starts. Like, the first couple of years had nothing from Sony. What they've managed to do this year is landed their quiet spot at the least important time. So Sony have got a quiet year this year, but there's still loads of, like, incredible games this year. So if you're gonna have a quiet year, they've picked the right one. strategized correctly, because the way that new consoles work, it's always the first party's responsibility to like support that console before it's worth third party supporting that console. Third parties are always going to like wait and be as cross-gen as they can and as broad as they can in their market and their audience. The first party had the responsibility to get that ecosystem running and get that bulk audience there before their third parties are really going to embrace it and support it. So Sony has done a very good job of carrying the console for the first 2 years of its life and selling enough that it should still get games this year. But in terms of like winning and losing, like everyone's been a bit disappointed with Microsoft's first party output so far, right? Because they've got loads of studios, they've had Phil in charge for ages, and they've been a little bit slow starting, but they've got so much coming. They've hurt, like Xbox have hurt themselves by having such a quiet start, because conversely, PlayStation has supported the console and built up that audience very quickly. The Xbox didn't carry the Xbox console in that first year or two, so that's going to hurt them for a little while. But in terms of games, like you can look at what Xbox does, and they've always had, or this might change over time because emphasis is changing from both of them, but Xbox have always had the kind of games that I'd put more hours into. So when I was saying earlier that you look at games that I play and the length of time that I play them, and that single player games are not on the list of like games I invest time into. I love single player games, but I play them once and then I'm done. Xbox has always done better at facilitating games that I would play for longer, typically. So I don't know. It's a weird question. I try and tiptoe around that because I just really can't stand the whole console war space. Doesn't do it for me. I like both. I don't trust either. Baz, you're just sick of waiting for games from Xbox. Yeah, but it can't be forever, right? Like, you'd have to have someone deliberately holding them back for Xbox to not deliver games for much longer. What is winning in the current year? Just consoles. Yeah, winning and losing is a strange thing. Like I said on Go Live a few weeks ago, that I think this generation console-wise has been really good for Xbox fans and really bad for Xbox console warriors. They've had very little ammunition to fight with if they want to go and argue with PlayStation fans, but if they just want to play games, it's a fantastic console for that. So one thing that Sony does well is to keep up appearances. They only do safe projects and let the third party do the risky stuff. Yeah, Sony have played it too safe. I think that's a fair criticism to level at them. Is that their games have all been safe bets, and they closed down the studios that did the smaller, more risky things, which is a shame. It's like there's merit to both approaches. There's like you had Phil Spencer said in his interview that a publisher or a creative shouldn't be afraid of getting some games that are going to score in the 60s. That's just part of the process if you're going to take risks and try things. And you listen to him say that, and you look at the approach that Nintendo and Sony take, where they absolutely wouldn't accept games being in the 60s and whatever. I mean, Nintendo have deserved a few to be in the 60s. They get a buy. Their games are 90 plus regardless, even if they launch like Pokemon. But Sony would not accept games coming out like that. They got rid of the directors of Days Gone because it was in the 70s. Like they don't take those risks. And there's merits to both approaches, because it means that the perception of it is that Sony make really good games. But personally, I want to see those risks. I want to see the games that don't necessarily work out. Sony has become risk averse. They've become risk averse as budgets have spiraled up. Like it's sensible. Yeah, it's sensible to be risk averse if you're going to be putting that much money into a game. You can't afford for them to flop. I get that. But risks are like also necessary. They're where the best things come from as well. So I don't know. Merit to both. And it's one of those things like, this is one of the best things about Game Pass, is it mitigates that risk, right? So you hear people talk about like Game Pass quality and the way that those games launch not being that important, but there is actually a positive spin to that. To mitigating risk is a good thing. They can do things like Pentiment, they can do smaller projects, and they can take those risks in ways that other publishers might not be able to. So the uniqueness of the PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 first party is gone. It is replicant, and this goes all the way back to like when Cliff Bleszinski was still making the Gears of War games and was saying like it's not sustainable, we can't keep making games with these budgets and selling them at these prices. Something's going to collapse. You're going to lose all sense of creativity and risk because budgets are too high, and that is the way that the industry has developed. So why Isla, what are you angry about? Forza is good, but you got bored of it now. Forza is unplayable if you are familiar with VR racing games. Like, there's nothing that Forza Motorsport or Forza Horizon can do to overcome that hurdle, except the very obvious step of supporting virtual reality. And that's a bugbear that I will never stop hassling Microsoft about. Give me the Forza games in VR. I will play them forever. General stress. If it is my fault, I apologize. I think that's a signal that we have to wrap this up. Yeah. Both models have merit and downfall. This is the thing though, like almost everything does. Generally, if there is any discussion going on that has two sides, and if you look at that discussion and can only see positives or only see negatives and see things in absolutes like that, you're probably missing the point somewhere. So you don't signal. It's happening anyway. My butt signals is uncomfortable. I tore some muscle a while ago. Chairs are bad ever since. It's simple. Produce Halo VR and you'll buy an Xbox, unless it's on PC also. It'll also be on PC. Space Denizen, it's specifically PC that I hassle them for. I want Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon on the PC to support VR. I understand Microsoft not wanting to put that investment into the console space or not do it until it's like console audience ready and perfect. That's sensible. Tony, you see positive. Xbox just buy third-party games and make them exclusive indefinitely. How is that positive, Tony? Welcome, 25 people that are watching. Thank you for your time and attention and for hitting that like button ever so gently with the tip of your tongue. Because that's how we do things. Tom, let you have the Hot Wheels DLC in VR and you'll buy a headset to vomit all over. Yeah. I mean, the way that gravity works, you'll mostly be vomiting onto your own lap. But yeah, I take your meaning. You're gutted that you missed out on the Forza controller. There'll be more. Controllers and Microsoft, like, there's 300 different limited edition controllers, right? You did your whole tongue deep. Well, you got to be careful, Tony, because the dislike button's pretty close to the like button. And also, if your screen has depth to it, don't really know what's going on. Let's do the questions. Oh, I didn't actually look to see if anyone was in the waiting room. Nobody's been in the Discord waiting room, have they? Haven't missed anyone. Good. First question, please, Isla. It's a growl. She growls when she's happy, it's fine. That means lots of people hit the like button. What is my all-time favorite game? This is the question that you thought might not apply anymore. Through my history of gaming, regardless of how it would stand up now. This will be Impossible Mission from 1984, now playable in a browser. I've never heard of Impossible Mission, but that's also my choice, Peter. My favorite game of all time ever is Impossible Mission from 1984. Obviously I went through a few games that I have very much liked. Oh, I'm finding this Impossible Mission and it wants to show me stupid Tom Cruise movies. C64, Commodore 64 long play of Peter's favorite game of all time. Wow. Let's just get a bit of volume on that one. No, I haven't pressed the volume button. That's what you like to hear. Yeah, this is my favorite game of all time. Microsoft could make PC virtual reality players love them. Yeah, so easily, Space Denizen. It's criminal that they don't. Someone needs to get... Oh, Peter. Puzzle. I can see why you love it so. I like the noise the guy makes when he runs. I've changed my mind. Impossible Mission is not my favourite game ever. But, like, I'm kind of envious of this era where everything was so new and weird. I'm not. That's a lie. I prefer the current era. But it is cool to have seen it from nothing to what we have today. You like that he's got, yeah, tap shoes covered in sandpaper. It's definitely a sandy sound that he's running on. With a bit of reverb. It's very, very unusual. Searching bookcase, if that's a bookcase. R2-D2 coming to get you. No, he's alright. Back then it was amazing. I believe you. Poof, poof, poof. That's enough of that one. Yeah, so my favourites, like I say, Panzer Dragoon Saga was on there. Shining Force 3 was on there. Shining Force 3 is my... If there's a guilty pleasure that I go back and play, it's that one. Absolutely adored that game, even though parts 2 and 3 were only available in Japanese at the time that it came out. That's how much I enjoyed it. Quake 3 and Phantasy Star Online. Asheron's cool too. You can't make me pick a single one out of these. I won't allow it. Hated waiting an hour for the games to load, the whole cassette thing. And the flashy lights, I vaguely remember those. But yes, we've covered great games. The Mass Effect trilogy is in there somewhere. The first Halo game is in there somewhere. Big long history of games. I wonder if there's any virtual reality games that I would put in that list, being the big virtual reality nerd that I am. Probably wouldn't want to pick one of those just yet. Never got a copy of Saga. Played the hell out of 1 and 2. Oh, they're not similar, Tom. I didn't actually particularly like 1 and 2. 1 and 2 had the art style, but on rails shooting, not the same as the RPG that was Saga. I bet, like, as was said earlier, that game with the remake, it was genuinely, like, a well-told, cool story. I liked it a lot. No one mentioned Borderlands. No one has mentioned Borderlands. I've not really played the first Borderlands to any serious extent. I played the second one quite a lot. Maybe I'd get the third one going on a stream at some point. That's a nice open co-op game people can jump in. Help your delusion a bit. No, I'm gonna fuel your need to play it, because then you might start campaigning for a remake as well. It would be very nice to be able to play that game again. And the only thing I will say, Panzer Dragoon, it's not a spoiler by the way, but the sad thing about Panzer Dragoon was the very ending, like the credit scene level of ending, when you've gone through the entire story. At that point it breaks the fourth wall and acknowledges the player. And the dragon randomly starts talking to you. The dragon doesn't talk up to that point, and it's very weird. Now press the button to begin a new world, or some nonsense like that, and they can leave that bit out of the remake. Where do we protest? I wish I knew. I wish I knew, and I wish Crimson Dragon had turned out differently. I played the Panzer Dragoon 1 remake on Stadia as my test game. You expect Borderlands 3 VR will be announced soon. Why do you expect that, Space Denizen? I don't expect that. I don't think 2 did very well for them. I would very much like to see Borderlands 3 VR. And like Borderlands 2 VR could have been such a hell of a good thing, but for some reason they dropped multiplayer from it entirely. Klonoa does the fourth wall thing at the end too, and you ignore it. It's not canon. Yeah, that's... you have to. Weird break. Don't know what they were thinking. Right. Next question, please. Although other people, if you have a singular favourite game you want to shout out, then by all means, whack it in there in all capital letters. Wait a minute, I'm scrolling in case Tony's mentioned a toilet. Not sure what's going on there. I'm scrolling in case Isla's mentioned a toilet, because in that case I don't get the next question, but I think we're okay. E.T. Buried in the desert, that E.T. This question is from Isla. Did I ever play a text adventure game? They had one called Zork as an Easter... Wait a minute. As an Easter egg inside Call of Duty Black Ops, and your brother and you both played it loads. It was so novel and interesting. I've never played a text adventure. You mean literally a text adventure with no art? I've not. I've seen clips of some old like graphical text adventures where you had to, like, the interface was literally typing words, so you had to not only know the basic controls for moving, but you'd walk up to like a console or something and you'd have to type in what you were supposed to type to solve puzzles and things, and it looked impossibly difficult to play without YouTube. But no, I've never played an actual text adventure. It describes stuff to you and you type in what you want to do. Did it give you a list of like... You typed in eat cell and it said auto cannibalism is not the answer. So it wasn't like following prompts, it was actual text adventure like the one I kind of described, where you have to figure out valid commands yourself. Peter wrote a text adventure back in the 80s, which was my all-time favourite game. Sorry, I said a different one. I meant Peter's text adventure game. Did that get published, Peter? Is it a game that was released, or did you keep it to yourself? Yeah, to yourself. Crimson Dragon is like 3 monies 80. Oh, 3 monies at the moment on Xbox. Is it any good? Painful Discourse is not any good, and it has a horrible model of this was in Microsoft's microtransactions experimental phase. Crimson Dragon is the worst kind of mobile shit, where you have to essentially buy continues and things like that. So no, don't recommend it. Which is a shame, because yeah, it's a shame. Morden's Quest, Melbourne House. If I ever play a text adventure, it'll be that one. Wasn't it a Connect game? No, Crimson Dragon wasn't. Crimson Dragon was a spiritual successor to the Panzer Dragoon games, but it did not hit those heights. Largely because it was monetized horribly. Horribly. You wrote a calculator in the 80s on Commodore 64. It could add stuff. Fancy. I've never written anything. If I did, oh, it would be good. Next question, please. Did anybody else, though, while that one's just flicking away, did anybody else play that Zork? Is that familiar to anybody else here? Right. Next question is, what is my favourite, if I have one, game-related object / licensed item, art, toy? My top game item of any designation, as in merch, like a real world item rather than an item in a game. I don't own much in the way of merch and stuff. That's a difficult question. I don't know. Let me think. No, I don't know. Has anyone got any cool merch that you own? Isla has a Sonic the Hedgehog hat, which is my current favourite. Oh, and a Bug Blankie. That's not my favourite. We're going with a Sonic hat. You got a cool merch. It's a t-shirt with Source on it. That's not like an actual game though, Tony. A bunch of Bug plushes. Pokemon plushes. So what have I've got like some display art, which is more for the sake of studio background. Obviously you can't see it, you can see Forspoken behind me instead. I'd probably like a replica plasma sword or something like that. That would be a nice souvenir to have. I don't know really. Don't really have a good answer for you, Peter. Sorry. If I had loads of money, then I would buy lots of paraphernalia and weird things, but unfortunately all my money goes on actual games and things to make streams better. You have a Fallout metal figure with a broken leg. How big a metal figure? There, pre-order bonuses. Good. Isla has answered lots, yes. She has lots of stuff. I have no stuff. My favourite... I like the graphics card in my PC. Does that count? It plays lots of games. Let's do next question, because I got no good answer for that one. You like game posters? Displate make nice stuff. They did... They recently did a Cyberpunk one that had all glowy lights and stuff that was cool, but it was like 300 quid. I can't buy a poster for 300 quid. It's streaming my full-time job. I wish it was, Baz. I was just saying earlier, I would love to like just stream for 8 or 12 hours a day and actually get through some of the backlog. No, Game on Daily is like the ambition for a job, but no, it doesn't like make any money. I've never made any money off of streaming. The money that we make on Go Live on a Saturday for Game on Daily is literally funneled straight back into Game on Daily. I am minus many tens of thousands of pounds on my business expenses. So I do have to work besides. What about all those Twitch stuff? Okay, fine. I have made some money from Isla subscribing to me on Twitch. Thank you. About it's a 6-inch statue from Fallout. Someone on a 360 magazine forum sent it to you for free because of the broken leg. It's very nice, very nice. Thoughts on Starfield getting a mature ESRB rating? I have no thoughts on Starfield getting a mature rating. Like, you shoot stuff, you shoot people, so I'm not sure what other rating it would get. Isn't it that by default? I feel like shooting people should be an instant gateway to a fairly high maturity rating from any board, really. Your skull nems, your nems hurt. Help your nems. I would like to, but I have no idea what that means. Peter, as you've asked that question, I'm guessing that you have more thoughts on the mature rating. Does it mean something encouraging to you? Or is there a particular like facet of the rating that's got you more interested? Is it like space, drugs and sex? More interesting about Starfield, I did hear the rumor that ID have been helping totally rework the combat since the trailers that we've already seen. So they said the same about Redfall, so I don't know how much it means, but sex, drugs and violence. People are afraid that they'll go soft, so you're happy. Like, you shoot people. So the mature rating... I don't know, do you get games where you shoot people that aren't rated mature already? Is that not the baseline for it? I don't know, I don't really follow ratings. Path trace NERMs? No, never path trace the NERMs, whatever we're talking about. Starfield must be good. Certainly hope so, but you know what would make it better, Peter? Virtual reality. Baz, here we all enjoy a little bit of Redfall from time to time. If id are the ones that spill all the oil and explosives around the map on Redfall, then they did a grand job. Peter, what made me want to be a streamer and what are the aspects of it that I really enjoy? And oh, here's a question. And the ones that I do not. I never wanted to be a streamer, Peter. I'm a massive introvert who managed to avoid cameras entirely for like at least 30 years of my life. So I don't know how any of this has happened. The aspects that I enjoy, the simple and obvious one, is these conversations, and that, like, I've got a really nice group of people that turn up while I'm streaming, like, whether it be every time, like you do, Peter, and Isla does, and several people are there very consistently, but also people that drop in and out in their own time. Baffles me that happens, and I love it. Yes, there's no evidence of me before 2019. Didn't exist in the slightest. And yes, of course, you, Tony. So that's like obvious highlight, because I genuinely like, these are good conversations that I enjoy. The other thing that it helps me with is, without it, it's very hard to find like opportunities to actually play games. So being able to stream is useful in that sense. I've got through a lot of games that I wouldn't have got through because I commit to a certain time and then I get on and play them. Downsides of it, I'm not in a, like, streaming, like I said earlier, it doesn't make me any money, so I'm not tied to it in any way. So downsides are minor. If I don't want to stream, then I just won't. I do, Isla will tell you, I go through like, I don't know, crisis of confidence, and don't want to do it at various times for that reason. But once I actually get onto it and do it, it's always fun. Does my missus mind you streaming? Mostly she's like encouraging. 1,000 imaginary monies. Yeah, like, I'm not doing it. I don't stream to make money and don't expect to, which is fine. But it does mean that, like, yeah, it's not a thing I'm committed to. If I don't feel like it, I can easily just not do it, and I don't actually lose out in a sense. Other times, like, I don't know, I put a lot into the streaming, so sometimes it's quite disheartening that it doesn't like take off to the moon, if that makes sense. Amount invested into like PCs and hardware and equipment and improving the stream and trying to perfect everything, and the stress when I start a stream and Tony's like, your audio is not quite right, or Isla points out that there's a buffer in the connection or whatever, and these things, like, I die inside because I try so hard to make it so good. But I can't help that. Painful discourse, that's a horrible symbol that you just put up. That's like a buffering symbol, isn't it? No, I don't. Like, worse for me, like the absolute worst for me is when people don't tell me, and then I realise after the stream that something was wrong the whole time. So when things aren't right, please do tell me. You've seen both endings, yes. Everybody, yes, cries when things go wrong. Anyway, I can talk about that more at some point, the whole streaming side of it, because it obviously is a thing that's taken quite a lot of time and thought and feelings, if there is such a thing. Lots has gone into it. So we'll talk about that more whenever you want to talk about it, but not now, Isla. Stop yelling. Let's do the next question. Feelings aren't real. Thank you, Tom. Tom, do you stream? I didn't know you stream. You have to share your details and channel and stuff. To everyone here, because that's a place to go. Next question, please. Oh. Tony. Wait, no. Isla asked. Tony said, What's a good remedy for burning ass from eating too much hot sauce? But Tony, that's a question that you should be able to answer, no? Don't you eat the hot food all the time? The correct answer is to shove a 3 milk cake up your butt. That is like what those cakes are for. You've not been trying to eat them, have you, Tony? 3 milk cake, by the way, is a long-running weird reference that Tony will get. Nobody else necessarily will. He says it's disgusting. I had never heard of it, but now we know he's been using it all wrong. What? What? You're saying your own name and confusing me muchly. Next question, please. You wouldn't have the confidence to stream. Me neither, replicant. Like, massive introvert. Never on camera, never seen. I'm like opposite of Gaz. So when we run the game on daily stuff, he's always had ambitions to be very much like front and center in the spotlight with cameras on him, absorbing as much attention as possible. And I envisaged being much more invisible. And yet somehow here we are. Of course you know 3 Milk Cake. You've been here at every single event ever on this channel. We ran out of questions. Hooray! I mean, I like the questions, but it is time to finish, so that works out well for everybody. Ah, see, Tom, you're also too introverted to stream. That's fair enough. If other people do come onto this channel and you are like streaming yourself and things like that, I very much like to hear it, because you're the people that I want to go and see when I'm not busy doing this stuff. So don't keep it to yourself out of respect or anything like that. I know it's a little bit of a weird situation to self-promote, which is why I never do it anyway, but you are welcome to. It was time to finish a while ago. Hang about. You were the one that wanted it to stretch on and keep talking. Oh, anyway, once again, thank you everyone for coming along, and I don't know if we hit the topics that we had planned. It was very scattery all over the place, but I think it probably normally is, and you're still here keeping up with the conversation, so I appreciate that, and everybody being here. We will do more. What's the day today? Today must be Thursday, because I'm doing this show. I do this show every Thursday, so tomorrow's Friday. I've got an early start on Saturday, but tomorrow we'll probably have some kind of stream at some point, maybe a little bit of the VR tomorrow, and then it's on to another week and another cycle of the usual kind of content. So thank you everyone, enjoy your afternoons and evenings, play some good games, arm yourself for the what you've been playing at the start of next week, so that you can, you know, recommend more games for me, talk all about them and all the stuff we usually do. I'm gonna hit the end button and fall asleep. Blech.